You're listening to the Inside Scoop, a podcast about self improvement and knowledge seeking. Our aim is to explore a diverse range of topics and perform self checks on whether we're being the best versions of ourselves every week. I'm your host, Marius. I'm here joined by Oscar, and let's get started. So, episode 46, December 4th. Let's roll. So, you mentioned something about a monologue, an idea, something you wanted to read out, share.
Yeah, something. Well, hello, I guess first. Yeah, it's something for us to, I guess, discuss a topic for us to discuss because that's all we do here.
Mhm.
um, I guess I'll just start with it. So, yeah, I guess I'll just read it out. Um, so we have some model of the world which is made up of ideas, and each idea could be given a value of permanence, describing how sure we are of it. Some some that we are very sure of, and we could even call them axioms, and others that we're not so much sure of. That's the first part.
Okay.
What are your impressions?
So, some sort of a model of reality. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So the model, I think the idea of it is it's it's the hardware of our brain plus the software of it together. So you got the hardware architecture, then you've got the malleable software, and basically depending on how what you've learned as a person throughout all your years, somehow you've developed a way of looking at the world, uh, and it's slightly different for everybody, of course, because we all have different minds, different ideas, and uh, and then the way we communicate is, we've got language, and it's like a protocol almost,
Mm.
uh, like in when different computers speak with each other through, you've got an operating system, a Linux operating system running on one PC, and a Windows on another, and they would be normally incompatible to talk, but they've got this language that they've agreed upon. Just could be like whatever, um, HTTP, say,
Mm.
or
So do you? That's actually an interesting point about the models, right? So I was slightly looking because procrastination is the best thing ever. When I need to do assignments, I was just looking at machine learning and how well machine learning model is created, I guess. I don't know if that's the correct way of putting the concept of how machine learning works, but I learned today, so it could be a section of today I learned, right? That machine learning creates a model which you can, I don't know what format that is, I don't know, right? But there's like some specific abstract like model thing which you can maybe put in other software and then it just has that model, right? So our brains also have to be developing something like that, right? Maybe on like a different, deeper scale, but like we do create some sort of a model. And I'm not saying that human brain is modeled uh, ac- according to like machine learning algorithms. Like it's the opposite way. I mean, machine learning was kind of created out of like the the idea of how human brain works.
yeah.
But it's just a revelation for me that like, oh, it makes sense. It creates some sort of a model of how to think, right? Um,
Well, it's machine learning as we have invented it and know it and understand it is like a subset of just the complexity of the brain. And I don't even know an awful lot about the thing that I'm most interested in, but like, with the thing with the brain, like, you got to understand that yeah, it's more complicated than how we understand machine learning. So we have machine learning, and um are able to use the today's AI to um, you know, make accurate predictions about things, right? But in a small like subset of like in a small um, category, I guess.
Like if you're trying to
You
classify oranges and apples, I guess.
yeah,
So I,
those kinds of things, and more complicated things as well. But complicated systems, and I have to understand that like the brain has developed both, physically over millions of years, the
mm,
human brain through evolution, uh, and at different times we've had to face different problems and to solve, and then those who could like face those problems and solve them like would survive and live on, and the process of evolution. I'm not speaking in any scientific way here because I have no
yeah, but
idea.
that also means the environment shapes the brain, right?
Yeah, and at different times, like different parts of the brain developed, or of course, to deal with different situations. But the parts of our brain that we already had, I'm assuming, like I don't actually fucking sorry, I don't take this from me like as science, but this is just my idea of what little bit I've heard about evolution. Um, yeah, so whatever has already grown, it doesn't like developed through evolution, become a thing for evolution. Part of our brain say, doesn't just go away because we don't need it anymore. Like we talk about our primal brain and our primal needs, for example, right? And yeah, complicated thing. And then on top of that, we invented language, and then we like moved all over the world, and we have different languages, and then we come back together and integrate with each other, and like that mixture of essentially language has allowed us to um, understand the world so well. um, and so like imagine, well, have abstract ideas and then being able to put them on paper, and uh, they have permanence. So you're not only thinking of things in the moment, you can now think of things, um, have a model, right? The model of the world across time. You can think across time because now you can put things on paper and you can look at it all at the same time. Otherwise, or inscribe it on a wall in a cave, or you know. Otherwise, it's you're only kind of thinking what's happening in the moment and being reactionary, I guess. But again, I have no fucking clue of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So do you want to repeat the exact thing that you read out, just so we would get the idea again?
So we have some model of the world which is made up of ideas, and each idea could be given a value of permanence, describing how sure we are of it. Some that we are very sure of, we could even call axioms of our model. So anyway, what I just all of the things I said were kind of like bullshit. Like I don't know how much of it makes any sense. Um, but like most of the things I say are like pure philosophical speculation. But what I have here about the model is a concrete, like a solid idea. Whatever I said after that, pretty bullshit. But yeah, the idea is pretty concrete. But I guess I'll read the next part to kind of support the first one, because I've made it into parts, but the second one supports the first one.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, so you eventually have to decide on some high permanence ideas. Otherwise, you would be stuck debating and trying to decide what is true without progressing very fast at all with your model of the world. So the idea is, you can't just be questioning everything all the time without end, or you will never settle on some truth that you accept. For you to be able to work at a higher level, you have to accept some ideas and work with them as if you knew they were true. And that's very, we've got it's very convenient to do, but what it also can lead to is like hundreds of years of or thousands of thinking one thing is true without questioning it because everybody else has always said it is true. Um, Not necessarily anything wrong with it, but just an idea.
Mm. It's like kind of genetic algorithm problem where you reach a local maximum, and
Right,
in order for you to get out of it, because you may be going like a complete opposite way, and then your goal is here, but then you're like, if you're going this way, you can only go there. So it's like you come to the closest point on this arc where you can reach it, but then what you actually need to do is do a regression, like go backwards in progress and then find the actual solution. But like
right.
with genetic algorithms, there's no best, so that there's no like
Yeah,
concrete, definitive
and then
answer usually.
that's very good. That's pretty much describes it, I think.
Yeah.
And what we talked about before, I guess, the random seed
Hmm.
for creativity, right? If you have a random seed of knowledge, right, you have done all your learning independently of any formal educational system. You're bouncing out around ideas in an order in a combination that people haven't done before, and that has the advantage of potentially coming up with some revolutionary idea in a field or whatever. However, like with that comes the fact that you're less likely to actually come up with something useful. All right, you're likely to be trying to um, invent, yeah, and in the process, you're more likely to never find anything useful.
When you're
Like there's
trying
a
to
higher risk
reinvent it,
thing,
you mean, yeah?
reinvent or find a new way of doing
Mm.
things. Like we might have already one of the best ways of doing things, and whatever, and then suppose that you try. So yeah, anyway, the seed of knowledge, right?
Hmm.
A random seed of knowledge, and then with genetic algorithms, what do you do? Well, you just start from the start with a new seed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You could, and you find some new, like, find some a better optimization, uh, potentially. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's all based on chance, and that's the next point. Is that you're disposable.
Hmm.
So I guess I'll just read it out too.
Okay.
Uh, you have to also remember that we're disposable. If your trajectory is incorrect and your ideas are actually quite rubbish, then you were unlucky. But you have to take risks for greatness. And yeah. But here's the thing, like with humans, like how does it all of the people, I guess, and who have reinvented fields,
Mm.
all of the people who have been able to have revolutionary ideas in science, like Nikola Tesla.
Hmm.
You know, most people I think consider him a crazy man. He had some far out there ideas, but I believe I should study up on him. But I believe like he's invented a whole lot of
Mm.
things as well. But he also had some wacky ideas too, and it's like some of them hit, others didn't. But he was taking chances on a lot of things.
Listen, this thing is so
Uh,
mainstream these days. Even when Michael Jordan, for example, says how many of the shots he missed, right? No one really remembers that too much. I don't know what the percentage is, but I mean, when I heard what he said, it was just like, wow, dude. They say they just quote like thousands of, I don't know, points, games, everything lost. They're like, well, everyone knows me for my buzzer beaters or whatever, when you just hit it and you win the game, you clinch the victory. But then in order for you to achieve that, there are so many other ones which you kind of failed, and then people were kind of upset and bummed out about it for a bit, but then no one really remembers. No one really writes that in the history books. He's just called the greatest basketball player, for example, right? The greatest man. And I mean, that doesn't mean that your accuracy and like all of that is like top notch. It's just that you have tried so many times, you've persisted so much, and yeah, I don't know. With even with like the genetic algorithms too. I was watching a little video today of a car. Well, I don't know if it was like genetic. It was just machine learning, but a car trying to learn how to park. Right? It just had like eight depth sensors, and that's it. The distance between the parking slot. And at first, I was like, whoa, this is so weird. Like, I haven't done any machine learning myself. So, seeing 50,000 attempts of that car and still not really getting anywhere close to it, I was like, I can't judge this guy because I have no idea in machine learning. But I'm like 50,000 times, like, come on. I was like, this dude must be doing something wrong. But then 100,000th time or something. That's it. That's all it took, It just almost 180'd, and then the car just started to like park itself properly. And it's like you have hundred thousands of attempts of things that don't work out, and something does, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say about a thing that I saw today from Jonathan Blow, where he was answering a Q&A, and someone just like, I don't know, dude. I don't think I'll be able to create anything great in my lifetime. And I'd probably need to go back and rewatch that specific part to learn his thoughts more in depth. But like, you have time. If you don't try, this is how you're not gonna do it. Other than that, all you need is one good idea. I know that there's many rumors on the internet. I'm not gonna be like Alex Jones on you, like untested knowledge, but maybe this is true. So the guy who created Walmart, I think he created it at like 65 or so years old. Apparently that guy tried so many businesses, everything failed, and then his I don't know how many attempts he did. I remember the number was quite large. Apparently that last one was Walmart. And Walmart, I gotta say, it's the most successful shop in the US. I would say that. It's like all you need is one hit, right? So yeah, but then quickly coming back to like the reinventions, for example, uh, when they say don't reinvent the wheel, and I like what you're saying because like you maybe discover something new. It might have been Jonathan Blow himself again, showing a screenshot of like Saturn V rocket, the system that actually wheeled the Saturn V rocket to the launch pad, which was like huge. Like, Saturn V was like absolutely like massive. And those were just, like tanks have some sort of a different system where it's not a wheel, it's like a chain system used to like move forward. It's like, yeah, imagine they told those engineers like, no, just use a wheel, just use a wheel. Like, so even when they say, don't reinvent the wheel, that this still as in there are still different kind of wheels that you could invent. Like, I know people use this as a mainstream example, but apparently there's still like, wheels which could be better. So
yeah, and that's I guess when I do all of my wacky shit with all of my wacky ideas, I'm putting literally my sanity on the line. So to be honest, I'm kind of worried about that. Because I want to do something, right?
yeah.
But if I and I say this, and I have said this before when I talk with somebody, I might be 90% delusional with all my ideas. And like, what then? What happens when uh, they just none of them work out?
Well,
Like, what
you
happens if I realize someday all of them are bullshit and like my identity is all of my ideas? What happens then? And so I'm
well,
thinking,
you just die
like,
trying, man. Like,
yeah,
you know, that's the idea of it. Again, I don't want to like go all like Zen on you, but um, actually,
well, no,
just
no, no,
that
like
thing.
it's not in that sense. I'm just making an analysis. Like, I could be chill about it. I know,
I
I
purchased a
could be
book
chill about
finally,
it.
but yeah, sorry.
But what drives all of this is emotional attachment and
True.
identity. Like, if you feel it's a part of your identity, you have to do it. But I feel like there must be a U-turn sometime soon when I realize I'm just going to become a software engineer
Listen,
and I'm
you
just
can
going.
you can waste another two, three. So if you're like 20 or so years old, right? And I'm actually now sounding like one of those motivational coaches and shit, right? But like you can waste another two of your lifetimes, wake up being 60, and you're still gonna be younger than the average Nobel Prize winner or something, right? You can waste 40 years, like, dude, it eventually something's gonna happen. But I do understand what you mean with like, because I'm for example thinking more of like a content creation and impact perspective for myself, right? I wouldn't be able to go out on TikTok and do nonsense videos for like millions and millions of people. And I know that there's an audience for that, obviously. And whatever is stupid I did, like even the ISIS sound effect thing, right? The stupid nonsense sound effect that I created is literally the most watched video ever of me, of my production, right? Which means this is, and then again, it motivates you because especially in the content creation world, you're trying to adjust your, again, so I'm just using these analogies because I watched some machine learning stuff today, but like there's the function which adjusts your inputs, right? Your the way you um well, the function which either penalizes you or rewards you for how well you performed. So it's the same here. It's like there's this rat race thing going on, the hamster wheel of like you put it in, like you put your hours of work into a video and then boom, the actual answer is the view count. Usually you look at the view count and think, oh well, the views are like shit, but like I put my heart and soul in it. And then you just create some nonsense, like some stupid offensive crap, right? And then you just get hundreds of thousands of views on that and think like, oh, maybe that's what I should be doing because essentially the goal is to get more views, right? So
Mm,
yeah, it's what I'm saying is like I don't think I could actually be doing that, even if it would yield better views. I'd
yeah,
rather do something that like I enjoy and that is more meaningful. And I don't know, dude. Like,
I guess people might call that selling your soul, but if you go, but but then again, the people who are motivated by the views to do wacky shit like that
yeah,
that
but
you wouldn't be interested in doing.
true. And then
Um,
there's always someone who fills in a demand, right? There's always someone to
yeah,
supply that demand, and it's like I just feel like I would be. Is it disingenuous? That the word for like towards myself. Like I just have
yeah,
like principles and I wouldn't want to do it. And it's having this weird attitude where like no, I'm not going to change what I'm doing even if I
yeah,
know that it's not really the most successful thing and just do what I do. Maybe that's the again, and I mentioned dharma many times, right? Maybe that's the purpose, right? Of just being the unknown, unrecognized, undiscovered underdog, right? There's like people like that and you do need that, right? And I don't know what the fate, what's the other word for the fate? Whatever, what the person's fate is. Maybe it was decided back when we were created. It's like, damn, that's it. You're gonna be this, and you have to play your part. So what I was saying about the Zen, right? I was gonna pitch in Zen as always, is that existence is playful. Like you just play your part and you exist as if it was some sort of a musical, for example. You have to dance and perform while the music is playing. And in turn, you're not really aiming to get anywhere with it. Because, speaking the words of Alan Watts himself, uh, the whole purpose of a dance is to dance. You don't aim to get anywhere in a specific spot when you dance, right? You dance because that's the expression. And have you seen Joker?
No, I didn't see the latest Joker.
Yeah.
No
And in that movie, the weird,
spoilers.
not really, the scene where they had some sort of an idea of going into like a bathroom and then filming a scene, right? And then that was supposed to have been some very different thing, like hiding a gun or whatever, like, and then they didn't know what to do with it all the way until like I think the day of shooting, and the guy was like, "No, I'm just gonna dance." So that there's a scene of him just like in the bathroom, just like dancing with whatever he can do, and it's like a pure expression of human breaking out, and because I mean that's what dance is. Anyway, huge tangents, but the idea is
Mm.
existence is playful. You shouldn't be taking anything too seriously. The music is playing. You have to dance. You have to play your part. It's like a musical. You choose you choose your direction. Obviously, it's like an improvisational piece, right? But you don't aim to rush anywhere. It's like music, right? The conductors who played the fastest would usually what would you consider them the best, right? Everyone would come to an orchestra concert just to hear the finale. Like, no, the idea is to actually go through the journey. And I don't want to say like, obviously you want to like prime yourself up for success, but I'm gonna say like, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna be like the most successful, right? But the idea is when I play a game and I don't know, put myself in some character's shoes, right? And then you go through the progression, and when you reach everything in the very end, the game becomes boring. Uh,
Yeah,
and so, if you look at life the same way, you're gonna, spot parallels.
yeah. I don't. I yeah. Okay. Um.
It's like you do
Yeah.
want to experience the
It's not
journey.
ultimately. It's not ultimately about the goal. Does he get in there, get into the goal for me? I mean, I eventually be nice,
Yeah,
like
cross some
that
threshold
I'm.
which you have set for yourself, and then continue upwards, obviously. But like,
But I think the idea is basically, yeah, right now I'm at a crossroads, uh, and basically I've got a whole year to myself,
oh yeah, so this
um,
encourages your thoughts and stuff. Yeah, I see.
and I don't know what I'm going to be able to do in this time. Um, if I'm just going to do the dance without trying to get to my goal, uh, I don't know where I'm going to be by the end of that time, um, and what happens after. And also, right now, my thoughts are very scattered from the semester.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like before the semester started, when we talked, I actually had an idea. Like I could put together thoughts and complete thoughts and ideas
Mm.
and plans. Right now, like I'm freaking trying to write good C++. why do I need to write good C++? Well,
Because
one of
when
the things
the
I
when
took
the
out of it,
moment comes for you to, when the time is right, this knowledge will be invaluable, and you're gonna thank yourself for knowing how to write good C++.
yeah, but right, what the point I'm making is there was some motivation that I did not understand. It was just impulsive. I'm teaching C++ right now.
Teaching.
I'm tutoring C++
Mm.
for maybe another 2 weeks, uh, and I'm trying to up my C++ game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and I was already thinking, okay, I used to do this thing like to stay fresh with my languages. With my programming languages, I would just do a little bit of programming in a language, like do a challenge or something every night for like an hour,
Mm.
just to keep my wits about in the language. And I used to do that with C, and I got pretty far into it, and I was pretty good with C already. And then somehow I stopped doing that. But anyway, but the point is, it was kind of impulsive. Like if I'm going into down a scientific trajectory, um, I can use I can use things like a language like Python to get my ideas out. And if the ideas are good, then maybe I can invest in learning, or you know write a paper about my ideas, and then somebody will implement it in C++ to make it very efficient and run. So like I have to kind of think about how much time do I have, and I've kind of not been able to think clearly about how much time I have because of the turmoil of the semester. I have lost like this rational thinking because I just threw myself into this, and all my thoughts and ideas were just like rendered uh, to look like they don't make sense anymore because the situation is so new. And so I was like, I guess I don't know anything about the world anymore. And
Mm.
now I came out of it, and I'm trying to stabilize again. um
Your little inner
to
Socrates breaking out.
I guess uh yeah, stabilize again, so that I can actually think and plan rationally, like, okay, how many things can I actually do, like what is reasonable. Because right now, if I just jump into this C++ thing, and which I am right now, I'm hoping to get to a level of my C++ where I can uh, do the advent of code in C++ pretty efficiently. Because right now I'm like throwing things together in Python, because Python just gives you everything.
Mm.
like like
Again, it
it's
depends
easy.
on what the goal is, right?
Yeah, it depends on that. But for some, like for the early coding challenges in the advent of code, like it's a Google search away. If I want to just like do something in Python, it's there. Like it's
Mm.
always there. And on the other hand, in C++, it would be more involved. But like if you know C++ well, you can easily solve all the challenges. Not even well. Like if you have a basic idea of C++, you can quite easily solve the challenges that come up there. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I'm doing it in C++, but I literally have it in my README that says I'm I'm aware of the clunky nature of C++, which is really not the ideal language for this challenge. There are people who are solving some of these challenges with Vim keystrokes, regex, and like they just put in like 2 lines of code and then they solve the second day challenge because they find a
Yeah.
more creative solution to a problem rather than just going with what's out there. So
Yeah. Well,
I think depends on
yeah.
what you're looking for. This challenge specifically, I think you can use whatever the hell you want, right? Which
Yeah.
means for an idea to be implemented. So I've had this issue myself actually. similar in my own field, I suppose. If that's my field, I don't know how videography became my field, but I was thinking about storytelling. And then storytelling is the goal that you're trying to achieve. You're trying to tell the best story you can. But you don't necessarily have to make a movie if you're a storyteller, right? If you stand back, look at it, and think outside the box, you have so many things you can use if you want to tell a good story. You can make a GIF, you can make a meme, you can write a book, you can create a video, you can go and create a 3D render, an animation, you can make a game, you can make a music track, you can make a song just to tell a story, right? So you just start to realize that if you want to be a storyteller, you don't have to rely on the feature length formula. Like you have to follow a feature film formula, which is, have like 100 minutes of screenplay, right? Um, so I just realized that, oh, wait, actually it does make sense. So it's kind of same here, because I heard you talked about your ideas that you want to implement. I'd say it depends if you have the ideas, because I'm again struggling with the ideas. If I had the ideas, I would be going out there, filming, doing whatever. So it's like if you feel like you have ideas worthy of implementing, I'd rather you go and just do that with Python and try getting them together as quickly as possible. But if you feel like currently
Yeah.
you don't have the most like ideas that you like yourself the most or whatever, you're like, oh, I don't want to dedicate my month or whatever to like doing something. uh why not learn C in the meantime, right? Just
Yeah.
fill up the time, and then when you actually get the idea, then boom.
Well, I was just thinking, like, even doing that. I was as I was learning C++, just sitting there going through the book and like learning it as it was intended. Um, I was sitting there, and my inner Socrates, if you like, kicked in, and I was like, "Are we imprisoned by our languages?" And yeah, I mean, like I wrote a bunch of stuff. I could probably read it out because I can't remember what I was thinking very well. Like, this is a trouble. That's why I write everything down. Um, okay, let me just like almost like a monologue. Does language imprison our mind or broaden its horizons? As ever, when we declare a good, in this case, broaden our horizons, and a bad, imprison, we implicitly declare some goals, something we're optimizing for. So while I was doing this thing and I was starting to feel existential about learning C++, from a book, a fake book, like most of it is useless to me actually, so it's not that bad. Suddenly I wrote like so many things, um, because of this kind of friction, emotional friction, and suddenly I was like, well, I think I found that the structure which, um, thinking like a programmer and thinking like a programmer, or the way that learning programming has made me think, is giving me a structure that is kind of helps me create some of my ideas. And I was thinking, like, we get to choose our own path, uh, and that could just be a part of the seed of knowledge that takes me somewhere. And in the meantime, it's also useful, if things don't work out with my ideas. So, like, if I know C++ pretty well, I can take that many different directions, I think. Like, if I'm skilled at writing C++ code.
I suppose, yeah.
But then, there are people who are dedicating even more time to that, I guess. So
Yeah,
to
I know what you mean. There's always going to be someone better, right? And I've just had a quick chat with my mate back from high school. Now he studies biology, and his honors project this year was supposed to be some evaluation of the methods used to fold proteins. Literally
oh
2 days ago, all of his honors project was made useless, pretty much. That's what he said.
yeah, I saw the video.
And it's like, wow, yeah, sure, makes sense. So it's like, and then quoting him, it was like, it's kind of scary to even start doing anything because there's so many, like, new research coming out in biology, especially with machine learning every day, right? It just comes out and you're like, oh, wow. Well, this changes the way we think about things. and, uh, and that's what he said is like, there's always going to be someone better who's, it just makes sense. Like I always knew that. And that's why I guess I lose motivation to do certain things. Because there's always going to be someone who does the thing that you're trying to compete in better.
Yeah,
Unless you create your own category in which there's no competition. So
yeah,
being you, I guess. But like, what does being you mean in maybe a scientific sense? I'm more talking about like a lifestyle slash like video and all that crap. But yeah, in a scientific, what does it mean to be you?
okay. I came back to me. I was going to say something earlier. Oh, when we were talking about genetic algorithms and machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
and how it took it like 50,000 or 100,000 tries
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to do the thing.
150 or
I
so
was
is
going to
huge.
say, yeah, I was going to say like you've got some sort of initiated system, and yeah, you will have to put it through that. If you think about humans, like all of our learning and things were spread over like our entire evolution, and it's only like incrementally,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's spread across humans.
Yeah.
So not all of us make it, right? Up until recently, now we're like we've advanced medicine so far that pretty much we keep everybody alive, but like
Yeah.
you know, and ideas, people have ideas, and then they find out, oh, my ideas are shit. Like I've been working on this idea for my
Mm.
entire life, but it's shit.
Yeah.
It's another casualty. Like we have to remember
Dude, to be honest,
that.
it just came to me. Sorry for intervening, but so we have modeled the machine learning algorithms uh to like the human brain, right? But human brain is shit. Do you know how long it takes for a human to start speaking? It takes like a year for them to start speaking, start walking and all that. Why wouldn't we model it to like some wolf brain? He's born, that's it. Week later he has to like go and hunt and whatever. I don't know how
Yeah, but
wolves
then
work, but like
it's much less general, right? It's not. It doesn't have language.
yeah.
Maybe what it takes to get us there, like, sure, like it's, but you can say it's inefficient, but like look at what we do every day. Like we create the machine learning
Yeah.
algorithms. So like all of like our perceived shortcomings are like also reasons why we are who we are.
Correct.
Like that's the most important thing. Like we talked about this before as well. Like not remembering things. Uh, like the fact that our memory is not permanent is one of the reasons why we can think of new things. um, it's like when we talked about you're trying to solve a programming problem and then you can't. You got tunnel vision. You go away from it. You come back later and you solve it.
Mm,
Like just like that. So it's like that. Forgetting, in some way perceived as a flaw, in another way it helps us to move forward. So yeah, like depends on how you look at
mm,
what angle you look at it from, and if we're optimizing for being what we are, we've pretty much done everything that we need to be to be what we are, which is general problem solvers. So any shortcomings are probably also, necessary for us to be who we are.
Sure.
That's probably the most coherent thought I've put together in a while.
It's good. Good to see you coming back.
And yeah,
That's awesome. Is there something else you want to touch on?
I don't have anything. I think I'm done myself. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think that was huge. That was awesome.
It's like the climax of the.
Got some bang knowledge in there. Some thoughts, or at least, if it's not like scientifically proven knowledge, at least it's something
It's
worth
something.
sharing.
It's along the right lines, I think.
Sure. Well, that was awesome.
I can
If we're good to end for this week, we had a pretty nice, I'd say a successful, coherent episode. I really enjoy the topics too. Like machine learning is something that I haven't dabbled with yet too much, but
There's another two cool things here to finish it off.
mhm.
When we talked about consciousness symbiosis. It's like
Mm.
if you look at the start of this podcast, we're like all over the place, and it's not even okay. So that's one thing.
Mhm.
The other thing is we're like scattered all over the place, and through trying to formulate things with the idea of the goal of having a coherent conversation over time, we are able to do that. Starting off with something completely incoherent, and eventually we are able to spot patterns in those incoherent ideas and create coherent ideas, and they're able to have this consciousness symbiosis almost, where we throughout we started off not knowing what both of us are talking about, and then over time have created a better of an idea through this protocol, and we don't even know if we're thinking about the same thing right now.
Mhm. That's true.
It's just a protocol. It's just these words that are a face for some ideas, but your ideas could, like your model, and if you put my model and your model together, they can't work together like two CPUs,
Yeah.
right?
We
Just
have the same
you can't just put them
inputs.
together.
We kind of have the same inputs when you're looking at some idea, but then the thing is, we may have completely different ideas on the other
Yeah.
end.
And that's like the limitation of computers as well. Like if you put
Mm.
one CPU and two CPU, they can't just just smash them together and they work. You have to have some way for them to talk, some protocol, and that's what we have in the form of language.
Yeah.
But also, we created those things. We have language, so we kind of base them on what we have ourselves. So,
True.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's quite universal. To separate systems have to have separate agent systems, intelligent systems have to have some protocol to talk with each other, some sort of a compression.
Yeah.
Uh,
Usually
yeah,
like an API for front and back end, so a couple of
and
servers,
yeah,
different systems.
that's also ideas that I took out of computing. So
Yeah, I think computing shapes the way we see the world too. Uh,
yeah,
I've really
and
noticed
the
that
other
like
thing,
I've looking at certain things more logically because of concepts. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
the other thing that we struggle to understand is that things like affect each other and them. Like one things affect this at the same time, the other things affects back. We act how computers are, and then computers affect us back, and it's all a continuous thing. There is no breakup there. So like we often talk about, try to identify causality and stuff,
Mm.
but like you try to focus on the causality of one thing to the other, and then you completely ignore the other thing because like affecting the first thing back, but it's so hard like we don't have a way. I don't think we're probably aware of this, but I don't imagine how we can model such a thing where everything affects everything else. And like that's a big problem, actually. I think I heard Lex Freeman on Joe Rogan talk about this. That we don't have a good way of modeling modeling the complexity of the world, like how all things interact with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just another part of it. How one thing affects another thing, and that affects it back, and you can't really say one causes the other. It's because like affects the other. It affects the other thing, and then that thing changes, and it affects it back.
Yeah.
It's a continuous thing.
Immense complexity emerges out of that.
Yes. I I wish I had. I don't know. I'm running out of time.
Wait, you're 40 years ahead of you before you start to think that you're running out of time.
40 years ago.
40 years ahead of you before you need to start thinking that you're running out of time.
Right. Okay.
If you want to
Well,
follow the
I need to
average
find
year
some way.
of the average age of people who have done breakthrough discoveries.
I don't know how I could hold a job and continue doing things. Continue uh to develop my ideas.
Depends on what kind of
It's just
job,
a
I guess.
reality.
Really depends.
I'm thinking. I guess we could do the after show, but yeah, it's just maybe wrap it up.
So really nice episode, cool ideas, interesting thoughts, and I think hopefully someone found it useful. If you did, rate us on Apple Podcasts. Look for ours on the green button, I think. It says follow on Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube, and be sure to check other episodes. And we're probably moving into the clip sphere. Are going to be cutting out little short clips, providing more bite-sized information. So I really appreciate anyone listening to this. Catch y'all next week.